Hey everybody, welcome to our Zoom trip to Sturgeon Aquafarms. Let me introduce you to our hosts. We have Mark Zaslavsky and his grandson David, and they're going to be taking us around and explaining what they do here at Sturgeon Aquafarms. For those of you that don't know what a sturgeon is, when we get off the Zoom, Google it. They're really cool fish. They're prehistoric. We use them for caviar. Find out about it. If Mr. Mark doesn't tell you what you need to know, Zoom it or Google it and get some more information. I think you'll be pretty excited when you see these fish and see what they are all about. So, Mark, take us around. Tell us what you want to tell us.
How are you doing, guys? Welcome to the Sturgeon Aqua Farm. We're located in Boscombe, Florida. We have a fish of 120 acres. We have a ponds and we have a building. So what we have here, we have a sturgeon from the Caspian Sea. It's famous for 4 species: beluga, sevruga, ossetra, 3. And sterling comes from the Volga River. So what we did, we brought everything wherever it comes from. Russia the best, we brought to the United States. Now this is center of the world for production of beluga, sevruga and ossetra caviar. So now it's product of United States. We built the farm in 2009. We started from this barn, and we originally brood stock, original fish we brought here, and then we wait for fish to grow, and then we spawn fish, meaning we took eggs to female, sperm from a male fish, and create babies. Now we're growing. 3 months ago we had about 10,000 fish. In 2018, before hurricane, we had about 25,000 fish at this farm. So welcome to our farm.
Okay, so we're going to follow along as Mark and David take us.
We have goats here, we have chickens here, we also have lake. We recirculate water naturally. It means we don't use any chemicals, we don't use any antibiotics. Everything is here natural. Water from a fish tank goes to one lake sedimentation pond. So everything that comes from a fish absorbed by nutrients, absorbed by greenery, and then water filtrated through another pond, second pond, and goes around and comes back. We use the same water probably 6-7 times. Come on, guys.
Okay, there's the pond.
We have the fish categorized by facilities as well, so we're going to go one by one. Start off with facility A over here.
Water to the tanks coming from wells. We have 4 wells, and we bring water to the tank. Clean water. If you look here, you don't see fish on the top. It's a sterlet. Latin name is Rufinus. Originally comes from Volga River. You can see it's occupied mostly bottom of the tank. This is 30-foot diameter tank. It contains probably 80 tons of water, which means 80 cubic meters of water. And here is the fish. If you look on
These fish tend to stay in the bottom, the sterlets. So you can see them all right on the ground. This is what year, Abba?
Fish from 2018.
And these are 2018.
Quantity, 818 fish in this tank.
So there's 818 fish in this tank. They're from 2018. So roughly each about, let's say 1 to 2 kilo, 1 kilo. So be around 2 to 3 pounds. And then I would say in the next couple months, these fish will be ready. The females will be ready to produce some caviar from it. Awesome. And yeah, so caviar, basically 10% of the body weight of the fish is going to be considered caviar. Caviar, yeah, the ovaries.
Here we have a little bit bigger fish. The same sterling.
Okay, so for those of you that are having a hard time seeing them, I know it's not easy. They're probably 1.5 feet in length. Some of them are closer to 2 feet in length. And for those of you that have never really seen a sturgeon before, they kind of look like a shark, but they're way cooler.
These are actually a year older than the ones in this tank over here.
Okay, so these are
2019.
basically
Younger. 2019.
okay. So if they're 19s, these are somewhere around a year old. Okay, so tight quarters for some of our stuff. You guys just be patient as we move through the facility.
Okay. Unknown. So we don't know gender. It's poorly developed, some of them. To check their sex, we use ultrasound. Each fish individually with ultrasound, and then we determine it's a gonad or testis.
All right, so for those of you that did not catch that, they ultrasound the fish to determine if they're male or female.
And then we separate into individual tanks.
This is baby beluga.
All right, so these guys are a little closer to the surface. They kind of hang out. Ah, up close and personal. This is a beluga sturgeon. So how many are in this tank?
About 1,200.
So there's somewhere around 1,200 fish in this tank.
And they're also from 2018.
Okay, and you'll notice, see, they're coming up. They're very curious. This guy's coming up, checking us out. Wants to see what's going on.
And you guys see the major difference between those fish. So these fish tend to stay at the top. The belugas also much fatter heads to them. A little bit of a wider body. And their fins are actually tucked in a little more. As you can see right here, all their fins are just tucked to the side. Unlike the sterlets and savrugas, which you will see there.
Okay.
Very flat out.
So as we're walking, I'll just mention, some of you are probably going, what's the big deal about caviar? Okay, caviar is considered a delicacy. And it sells for a lot of money. If you're not sure what caviar is exactly, those of you that like to eat sushi, the closest thing I can explain to you is when you go eat sushi, those little orange things on top of some of the sushi, that's fish roe or fish eggs. It's the same thing as caviar. Well, not exactly, but it gives you an idea.
Once you look over here, they have them sectioned off, and they're actually doing ultrasounds over there. We're gonna go there in quite a little bit, but you can see that here we can sex them, ultrasound them, see who's ready for caviar, who's not ready for caviar.
Okay, so they've actually drained this tank so that they can do some work. They're working on ultrasounding some of these fish. If you see across the tank, he just deposited a fish back in. They're ultrasounding. We're going to go over that way and let Mark and David tell us what's going on.
It's a little wet over here.
It's okay.
But we can go from the other side. Yeah, let's go from the other side.
Okay. I'll let you cross first, and then I'll come in right behind you.
So it has to be very dark in there, so I'm just gonna do a little peek just like this. So you can see there's a monitor on the screen over there, and Rosia is over here doing the ultrasound. And then on the screen itself, when you can see eggs, you will see very whitish black spots on the screen. When there's a lot of white, that's just muscle showing from the sturgeon species. But this is what we have to do for every single fish, finding out the sexes and if they have ovaries ready to produce caviar.
Okay, so now you've seen the actual ultrasound machine. I'm going to ease back around so you can see what they're doing with the fish. Okay, so they have them in a small tank here. They catch them with a net. They bring them to a transport net. Okay. You see she has the ultrasound probe or wand. She just runs it right down the fish's side. Gets a peek at the inside, what's going on. And then she tells them if it's a male or a female. Okay. Checks for eggs. Okay, so she took a little core sample. Just checking the eggs to see if they're ready. A little iodine. And then she tells the technicians where the fish needs to go.
Also, yeah, try not to harm them as much, because if they do have caviar already in them, it does affect stress levels.
What variety is this?
So this can be a sterlet. Yes, these sterlet about 2 years. They're ready to produce in, I would say, beginning of June. So some, do produce a little faster than others. So that's why we are checking them right now, moving them from tank to tank.
So the males are put back in here.
What was that?
The males are put back in here.
Let's find out. You guys are putting back the males where? All females in here? Yeah, they're putting all the females back in here.
So it's a wet job, but it's a really cool job.
You can get your pair of gloves, you can try it.
Don't tempt me.
You don't want one
The
to curl
ones
up
that
and hit
have
you.
roe in them, have caviar in them,
Yeah, so we
are
actually
going back in that tank.
Okay, so this was a male.
they put a little bit of iodine on it.
Okay. Oh, it's a female that the caviar is not developed. Okay. All right.
Over there, they're really developed, so they need to be processed.
You have to harvest it. I
Gotcha.
think so. You have to harvest at a particular time.
Well, exactly, yeah. So I was just saying, so the sterlets are usually harvest date is between June and July, beginning of June. So these are already typically 2 years old. They're ready to be harvested, especially the time right now. So that's where we're checking. So yeah, it's harvest month, I would say. I'd say it's a very fast process because we don't want to say they do have caviar in them. Just even if they don't, we don't want them to be very stressed. Moving from tank to tank. So we try to make the process as fast as possible. We have all hands working on them.
So the sterlets don't get much bigger than this.
Sterlets do not get much bigger than this, yeah. Sterlets, to produce caviar, sterlets typically 2 to 3 years to produce caviar. Ocetras from 6 to 8 years. Beluga in the wilds about 15 years, but farmed it's about 10 years to produce caviar. When we go to the brood stock over to the other tanks, you'll see the size differences in the fish. In this facility, we have all of our sterlets and baby belugas in those 2 tanks over there.
Okay.
But yeah, for sterlets, this is the size that they will get. For the meat, also itself, the fish, the younger the fish, the less cartilage, bone, it kind of develops over time, and it's much more tender whites.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And the whiter caviar is a higher grade.
So yeah, I'll show. We actually have a tank. It's albino, and those fish, it's very, very rare for sturgeons to have kind of white gold caviar to it. The fish itself is an albino species, so we'll check that out as well. We have a tank that we separated.
Right.
There.
Okay, lead on.
See, they stick their nose out, so that's a savruga actually. Savrugas love sticking their nose down. Some belugas and some savrugas, these are very long. As you can tell, savrugas are the only ones.
So this guy's showing off for us.
Yeah, look at him.
Oh, he's doing tricks for us.
Yep.
Are these your breeders for Savruga?
No, they're just really kind of okay right now. I think you've already still have caviar taken out of them, yeah? So we have 14 savrugas, And we have actually 27 Siberian sturgeon in here. We are not feeding them, so they are ready to produce caviar.
Okay. All right, so it's kind of hard to see, I know with the glare, but this is actually a little better in here.
And
You
he's
can
just
get
playing around.
an idea. We've got one that's doing tricks for us, coming to say hi. I'm going to ease over to a gap in the screen. Obviously the screens are up because they will jump out of the tanks if the screens are not up. So I'm going to slide over here to this gap and see if he will be curious enough and come see me. Maybe we can get a close-up. Doing my best SeaWorld impersonation, SeaWorld trainer, tapping the water, trying to get this one to come see me. Oh, here we go. Oh, we got two now. Up close and personal.
They're very friendly. And their defense mechanism, you can't really feel it in the water, but they produce a lot of slime, the sturgeon species, so that way if they do get attacked in the wild, they're very, very slimy. That way they can quickly slip away from anything. That's why it's actually really hard to also grab these fish. You have to be like a hawk. Just go straight in and just can't hesitate, because it's very hard to capture them.
See if I can get somebody to come back and see me. There we go.
And the Savruga or the more mottled color?
Yeah, Savruga is going to be very slim, very nice snout to them, a nice pointy snout, and they're actually the only ones that lift up their snouts out of the water just like that.
Okay.
And they will have that kind of diamond shape to them on the skirts.
All right. Okay, so you can see we're in a barn. Actually have insulated ceilings.
Yeah, sadly during the hurricane we had like protection, everything started coming out. We have 2018 belugas. These are just medium-sized belugas.
Okay, so there's 60 fish in this tank. A couple of them are coming to check us out. These are the belugas.
Yeah, these are medium-sized for being 2 years old over there. Those 2-year-old ones, 2018, they were pretty small for their size.
Okay.
These are really good.
So these guys are the same age as the first tank that we looked at. They're 2018s, and these guys are probably 3 to 4 feet in length. It's kind of hard to see because they're staying down below. But there's one. Let's see if they're thinking about it. They're checking us out. So this guy is about a 2-year-old fish, not quite. Maybe a year and a half. Same age as the first tank we looked at, so different variety. So that's why a different strain, breed. So that's why they are so much larger in size and stature, kind of like we've learned about with cattle. Okay. All right, you can see these guys swimming along.
These are also 2018 belugas.
All right.
And we also want to differentiate the small and medium size, because if they're all in one huge tank, they're going to fight for food, meaning that the larger ones are going to eat majority of it and the smaller belugas will not get the same amount of protein. So then we can't really control how well they all grow, together. So that's why we kind of separate medium with medium, small beluga with small beluga, so that way they can all grow the same.
Let's see if I can lift them. They don't have teeth, right?
No.
Can you fish fruit?
All right. So,
we have beluga tanks right here. These are male. These are big boy males right here.
Yes, they are.
In 2011, October.
okay, so these fish are from 2011. These are some of the
This is breeders, right?
Some of the originals.
Yeah, this is still not the breeder.
This is still not the biggest, yeah.
Holy crap. These are the replacement breeders.
Okay. Now I'm not sure if he's going to come up. He's you can just see his shadow as he's moving on. All right. You can see these guys are huge.
I'll put a light for the big ones, and you guys will actually see. It'll be much easier to see them.
All right, so as we go inside, it is going to get a little bit louder. I can hear some of the tanks running and stuff, so just understand that we'll do our best to make sure you hear everything.
That's over there. Inside it's going to be pretty quiet in here.
Okay, good.
We have albinos in here.
All right, so the albinos, one of the most rare. This is a genetic recessive trait that causes this.
So you can see on the middle level, this one right here is a beluga. Everybody on the bottom, we have sterlets. Remember in the first tank that we saw, all the sterlets were at the very bottom of the tank. Belugas are sort of in the middle, so we have one beluga here, two right here, about 6 in this tank.
All right, so does the beluga and sterlet, the albinos, do they produce an albino egg, or do they? So the eggs are white as well. So the caviar will be white.
Goldish color to it. It literally looks like gold.
Okay.
Very nice. Doesn't mean the taste profile is better. Again, it's just more rare because an albino species is genetically much more rare.
Okay.
And then again, we will have to sex these in a little bit to see which ones are actually female and male, because probably half of these aren't going to be female to be ready to produce caviar. Now we go into the brood stock. And brood stock just means, I'm going to turn the light on in here once I close this door.
Okay, so now we're inside with the brood stock. We'll have to give them a minute just to get the lights on for us. They like to keep these guys in a little bit darker, calmer conditions. Got to keep them calm and happy. So,
Air conditioned in here.
yes, it's air conditioned in here. Everything in this room is going to be kept conditions perfect. So you can see these guys have the do not feed sign up. That means they're going to be checked today. They're going to be ultrasounded. The food gets in the way of the ultrasound being seen properly. All right, so in this barn, there are 6 tanks. So while we're waiting for them to get the lights going, I'll show you a little bit about the tanks. Okay, so you'll notice these are heavy steel. It's called corrugated steel. And with the mesh siding that goes up above the tanks to keep the fish from jumping out. Okay, so I'm going to move around to the side so that we lose the glare. And we can see these guys. If you lose my feed, just wait and I will be back with you in just a minute. All right, hopefully we won't lose it. You can see how big females, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so these are all broodstock females.
These are about 200, 250 pounds.
For those of you that are my fishermen, you are all probably going, oh my gosh, right now, because you likely will never catch a fish in your life this big. How cool is this thing? These girls are awesome.
We want to keep it very dark in here, insulated. The water temperature is colder than anywhere else in the farm. It's at 6 Celsius. And little by little, when fish are ready to reproduce eggs, we slightly increase the temperature day by day, very little bit, until the month period, and then we take samples out again and see how they are. But yeah, you guys can see these we brought up from the Caspian Sea, so these are true Caspian Sea sturgeon right here, from Russian waters, and living in Florida, which is quite phenomenal.
All right.
Does water temperature affect the number of different sex?
So what do you mean by that? Like,
if the water temperature is lower, there are more females born. If the water temperature is
no.
higher, more males kind of thing?
So it's basically, it's a 50-50.
Okay.
And then when it comes to sexing with beluga, you can't sex after in 4 to 5 years.
Right.
Then you can start sexing the fish. And then that's where we already divide into different tanks. Like medium ones, for instance, they're growing better than the small ones from the same year. So then after a year and years pass, that's where we put them into colder tanks warm the tanks.
Okay, so just a reminder, if the feed drops, don't go anywhere. We come right back. It's just we're indoors, so it's blocking the signal for my phone a little bit. Okay, so see if we can get one of these girls to come back up real quick. Tony Watkins.
Whoops.
Oh, I'll just show you. Yeah, Miss Baby just got splashed and splattered and soaked because Mr. Watkins thought it'd be cool to grab one of these girls.
wanted me to bring her up.
Oh my gosh! Now I'm cold and wet. Feels good though. It's kind of warm out today.
Let's see, come on, one of these guys, come up. I would, you know, a way of getting them is to put some feed and they'll come up right to you. But we don't want to feed these.
Right.
So, right. They'll come back right now.
Look right here.
Okay, so these girls are huge. They're awesome.
It's gotta be.
Hunter Smith, you're not allowed to sneak in and try to catch one of these, by the
That
way.
one is about 8 feet long, definitely.
Okay, so she's 8 feet long. For those of you that do a little saltwater fishing and you've seen sharks this size. You've never seen these girls though. Once upon a time, sturgeon actually lived wild, even in the rivers here in America. But because of their calmness, their docility, they were easy targets. Okay, so we have a few actually in the Swanee River, and we have a few still in America, but most of the sturgeon in America now are raised in tanks. So this is Hunter, you got to put your mic on mute. So this is way cool. All right, these girls are used to produce offspring, and they raise their own because there's actually it is no longer legal to import sturgeon into the United States anymore. They actually have to raise their own young now.
So a little interesting story actually about the broodstock in here. My grandfather had to put him on a plane. He went on the plane 13 times, and in the cargo at Lufthansa, he had big coolers with oxygen in them, running water, fresh water. He was actually in the cargo shipment downstairs, watching over these fish and going back to his seat because he was so worried. If one fish had died during the whole transport, he would have been sued and possibly went to jail for a couple of years for each individual fish. Luckily, no fish. You know, everybody made it safe. So that was, you know, quite. When he tells me that story, I still can't believe it up to date that he actually risked.
What entrepreneurs do.
Okay, so there's 14
In this tank, yes.
14 females in that tank. Okay, you can't really see into this tank. Can't really see into this tank, but there's 11 females in this, and they actually have, according to the label, white eggs, and they are. They don't have the year marked, but these are the big girls, so these are going to be
broodstocks. So broodstocks
some of the original
year that we have.
Are there any of the original broodstock still remaining?
Yeah, these are all them.
This is them.
Yeah, these
All
are them.
from Russia.
These are all them in this facility. Yes,
Okay.
all from the Caspian Sea.
All right, so all of these girls came from the Caspian Sea, and they are the foundation, the basis for this farm.
It's, you know, pretty crazy. What still blows my mind is like, even though they're all sturgeon species, it's like one breed of sturgeon species could be 2-3 pounds and ready to produce caviar, and another could be 250 pounds and still not ready to produce caviar. So to see the difference in sizes, it's phenomenal. Crazy. Yeah, those are blowers that we have. We clean them, we repair some of them, and that's just so oxygen could flow to the tanks much easier, faster. These are insulated. We have inside. They're temperature regulated. Basically, keep their feet in there. All the corn. Our water towers right here.
What is the purpose of your water tower? Is that
So
a filter?
So the water tower, basically, in case of any emergencies, we always have water stored. So one of our pumps breaks, we can run water from the water tower to different units, and it spreads to the tanks from there.
Can you show us the feed that you feed them? Is that a protected piece of information?
Yeah, when we actually get to the tank, I'll open it up and I'll show you the pellets that we feed them.
Okay.
Here they're just in bags. The bags, literally, like this. But I'll show you the actual feed itself.
Okay. So you can see they keep their feed. A big old 50-pound bag, just like we do with our steers and our hogs. Okay. For those of you that have to pay attention to that stuff, when we were working with our pigs especially, there you go.
And some of the fish, I'll show you also some of them are 2 millimeters in size, like the pebbles. And yeah, some of them are fed like 2 liters, 4 liters, or 8 liters of feed a day. So I'll show you that as well.
Okay, you'll notice everything when you hear numbers, we're hearing a lot of numbers that you're not used to. Okay, remember,
Might get a little louder.
we don't do standard measurements anywhere except for in the United States.
This is we have a hatchery. Before we had baby sturgeon in here. Before that they were ready, very tiny babies. When they were maturing, we kept them in here, and then we moved them to the larger tanks. Right now we don't have too many babies. We have about like 6 to 7 tanks running right now. There's some beluga in here. So just little babies. We just separate. Also, if some fish do have problems, they're injured, their tails aren't working for some reason, we separate them, we put them into tanks so they can kind of rehabilitate, come back to normal life. Maybe fish aren't giving them enough, space to move around.
So this is the nursery / medical facility.
Yeah, biologists over there fixing
Okay. So,
something in the hatchery.
hey, when you have this many tanks, things have to get fixed. So,
Say hi. How are you, guys?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you here to come to work. Okay?
so this is the farm biologist.
Yeah, the biologist is trying to repair something in the tank. And that way we can put this again. Because we use normally this pipe in the middle. Now they broke.
So for those of you that think you're going to be college educated and go run some big company, by the way, you better be ready to do work too. That's why ag class is so important. Okay, so he's working on repairing this pipe that's part of the water and filtration system. Okay, so hey, you gotta know how to use tools. Gotta know how to do a little work.
You can hear the blues are actually as well.
Okay.
These are from 2018, medium size as well. Very nice.
All right, so
I was watch out for snakes here. I'm gonna watch out for you guys. This is one place they're always at.
okay, so let's check out the feed ration.
These are very small pellets that we have,
Okay.
that we feed them, and I'll show you much bigger pellets. They're for savrugas and sterlets.
All right, so 2 of the breeds that they have here eat the little teeny tiny pellets. That's the smaller fish that we saw.
And for instance, like it says right here, it'll say the size, millimeters, so like 8 millimeter feed. These savruga have to get fed. They're in stage 2 of reproduction. There's like 4 stages to like the fish, well 7 stages, but when caviar, you want it between 2 and 3 as well. And it says right here, they have to be fed 3 liters 2 times a day. So here we have savrugas as well. So these are
These are in stage 1.
Very, you can see it also in the body, very skinny. Usually Sevrugas, they all tend to be very skinny, but when a fish is ready for caviar, you'll see the belly of it, it's flat, and then you have a curve, a little lump right on the belly. That's, you know, eggs, ovaries are starting to form.
So when you collect your caviar, you collect it here on site.
Yes.
Do you process it here as well, or do you have to send it out to be processed?
we have a processing facility. When we're leaving, I'll show you the big building that we have, and in there we have 2 rooms. We have a fish room, which the fish first get processed in. If we are using the fish for meat, we bleed out the fish so it doesn't, you know, get into any of the meat. Stays really, really nice, clean meat. And then the caviar is actually taken out first before anything else. It's passed through the window to the caviar room, and in the caviar room, that's where we go. We see the egg similarities in eggs, sizes in eggs, and that's where the whole process goes: curing it, salting it, packing it into either original tins or very little tins, and sending it out to our customers.
Very high energy feed.
Yeah, a lot of protein.
45% protein and
yes.
15% crude fat.
Yeah,
That's very high energy.
yeah, they need a lot of protein. These fish.
So it's kind of tough to see down through there for some of you, I know, but if you will just kind of look, you can see tanks upon tanks upon tanks.
Let me show you actually it's a really beautiful view of one of our ponds over here. And that noise is just the blowers for the oxygen. When they blow out, we know you don't hear that noise.
Okay, so I'm guessing this is a beluga tank,
Yep.
just by the fact that they're all swimming right at the
There's
top.
some Sevruga there as well. You see one Sevruga on the very top right there. Sevruga right here.
Close to caviar stage.
These right here? No.
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 And along
Caviar stage is going to be the bigger ones that you saw in the beef facility. Broodstock and the other tanks.
Wow.
The 2 tanks that we have, yeah.
Yeah, for the beluga, they're approximately what age when they're ready for caviar if they're a beluga?
Well, for caviar, about 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. In the wild, it's 15 years because, of course, they're not fed as much. They're fighting for survival. Here, they're fed much more protein. They grow much larger, quicker. So it's about 10 years.
Up. We just had one jump for us. They like to show off.
Sevrugas love jumping. That's why some of them actually we close off on the tanks. There's one tank in the hatchery that we closed off because those Sevrugas, they're jumping everywhere. But yeah. This tank actually yesterday was the same as you saw when we were sexing the fish. These fish were already all sexed. I don't know if they changed the sign yet. Yeah, they didn't change the sign yet because they just had sexed these fish. So I think they just updated the sign and put it back up.
Now the Sevruga that's in here, are they caviar stage?
Here,
Close.
I would say close enough, yeah, definitely. But to me, these look like male Sevrugas.
And the males are harvested for meat, correct? And what
Okay, so this tank is a tank with males, and they are being raised for meat. Okay, they'll save a few males for broodstock.
Oh yeah, I was just to say. Oh yeah.
So these fish will be harvested for meat eventually.
Can't really do that. So,
got it.
but it's
I got
still,
All right.
still very nice with smoke, and it's like this. Yeah.
So this is one of the ponds. They pump the water. Okay, you can see the water discharge pipe here. Okay, it's coming out of the tanks, coming into the pond. It's being allowed to settle, and then it will be pumped into the first pond that we could barely see, and then it will be pumped back into the system. Okay, and this is all environmental considerations. You can see this pond is teeming with life. Okay, I can see a couple of small fish beds. I see minnows. So there's some type of native fish that's in this pond. Probably some brim, maybe some bass. And
There's some sturgeon here we let out as well.
they've actually released some sturgeon into this pond as well. So anytime you're at a farm that involves aquaponics, hydroponics, even any type of flush system, even most farms now that raise swine, they have these catch ponds like this. And it basically allows us to recycle the water, to clean any feces, any solids out of the water, and then use the water again. And this is the part of farming that most people don't understand, just how environmentally conscious and conscientious we are, so that we can make sure we're taking care of and giving back to the land. So this is the catch ponds for their water. You wouldn't even know that that its purpose was to filter poo and old feed out of the water.
And in the future, like one of my goals, because I really want to grow my own fruits, vegetables, you know, to supply our restaurants, our markets, is to actually grow different kind of vegetation here using aquaponics, using this water. So that's in the future ahead of it. First we have to focus on our fish, on the facility, and then once everything's settled, then we can do that. But yeah, you can see everything's just so much greenery growing. Little minnows right here as well. And behind this pond, we actually have one more pond behind that.
Okay. You can see the discharge pipes. You can hear them.
And these are actually also 2018 beluga, but you see how much smaller these are than the ones that we saw in the beef facility? Same year as those, but half the size.
Yeah.
So you class them by size, try and keep them by
Yep.
size
And we do
together.
that just because of, you know, if we have them all in like the same tank, medium and small, or large and medium, they don't feed the same way. They're not gonna grow the same way. We try to categorize them as fast as possible. This one has actually got injured, his eyes, as you can see.
Alright, so a chance to show you a little bit different feed.
Bigger pellet.
Slightly bigger pellets.
Okay, so this feed is much bigger. They feed the beluga.
What? Yes.
Okay, so the beluga get this feed. It's a lot
The
bigger.
smaller beluga. And I'm going to show you a larger feed that we have.
Okay.
The belugas,
Like small, medium size.
do they all get the same food, basically?
Yeah.
Lots of fish oil in there.
Yeah,
Smell it.
I wish I wish I had smell vision so you could smell it. Smells like fish oil, which most of you would say smells gross. So,
These are all 2018. We're just basically categorizing by size now.
okay,
This actually is a dried up snout of the sturgeon. So the snout that you see pointing out of the water, this is the skeleton.
okay.
Right under maybe a fish, somebody just dried up, maybe somebody ate it, snake, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you'll notice even though we're outdoors, we still have screens, shade cloth netting over the fish. Okay, that's to keep the obviously we want to keep the fish in shaded conditions. Have to make sure that we keep their temperature consistent and regulated. We don't want them to get too hot, but also that helps keep predators out. Okay, so we have fish that like to swim on the surface. I can imagine that the ospreys and the eagles and the hawks would really like to come in and grab a few. Okay, so this is the
biggest feed that we have.
this is the feed that they feed to the bigger fish. Looks a lot like the feed you would.
It's 13 millimeters in size, yeah, it says right here. And these get fed 8 liters a day, twice a day.
Okay. All right. So these guys that are out here, they're a little bigger, hanging out, doing their thing, enjoying the fresh air. Notice they're all coming to the top. Okay, these guys like to be at the surface. So David, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is important?
The rest goes all the way down. The last two facilities we have, we closed them down. We moved a lot of fish over here just to categorize. But yeah, it goes. Let's head over this way so you guys can actually see the whole lineup. This is Beluga's very beautiful colors on him.
Give me just a minute to get reconnected. Oh, lost my cell service again.
I think we should probably go back that way for service then. Walk by. And this is again just the feed as well. And this is the lagoon that we have over there. You guys can actually see the lagoon, and we'll go in this corner right here. It's a beautiful view of it. Such overgrown greenery.
Okay, so I have to walk back. We're very close to the Florida-Georgia line here, way out. So the yeah, keep losing cell service a little bit. So
we have liquid oxygen tanks.
Check these guys out.
And do you have oxygen brought in, or do you have oxygen generators?
It's stored in here, so they bring it in here.
Okay.
And then this is the lagoon right here, and it goes even further past that second.
Okay, so
yeah, connects through here, all the way out there.
all right.
And if we were to even go just to see the whole land itself, because the farm takes up about, I would say, I don't know, 15 acres of land, 20 acres of land. We have another like 120 acres over there, to check out. So it's just green grass area, but it's just beautiful. But you will lose service over there, definitely. Okay,
so is there anything else that my students need to know about the farm, how it works, what you guys are trying to accomplish?
I mean, yeah, Sturgeon. So what we brought, so what my grandfather said in the beginning is that, America was never really known for like caviar. Caviar is more of Russian, Iranian, European type of product for generations. So what we wanted to do is these species, they were going endangered. There was about 2.5% of beluga left in the wild right now. We actually have more beluga here than the Caspian Sea. Last year we sent 300,000 fertilized eggs to Azerbaijan to the wild to repopulate the population. So we're not just producing caviar meat, but we're actually trying to rebuild the population of certain species and make, like my grandfather said, America, like Florida, be the motherland of certain species. And we're trying to, there's a huge market in the United States for caviar, in a bunch of restaurants, markets, and this is a product that I feel like is outdated. It's a lot of the newer generation is not knowledgeable about it, so it's something we're trying to push so people are knowledgeable and kind of have an awareness of, so they can help these species out themselves and regrow the population, because if we don't take action, then they're just going to die out.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay, so thanks for tuning in. We're going to get ready to shut the Zoom down. Make sure you go back to the YouTube video and check for some possible surprises at the end. And it'd be a good way for you to go back and find the answers to my questions for today's assignment.
And also a couple things, if you guys want a little bit more information about the caviar, where it's being sold, what we do with it, you guys can check out markys.com. That's markys.com. You'll see the fish that we sell there as well. And more information about the farm, you can check out SturgeonAquafarms.com, and you'll find all the information you possibly need. If there's anything else, just email us, call us. We're here to answer those questions.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having us today.
Of course. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.